Peter,
Jaya,
it's so nice to be here with you in your presence in Bali.
it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you for taking out time for I'm the Change podcast. And the idea of this podcast is to talk about stories of coaches for coaches, to support them with wisdom, perspective, and moments of choices that supports the growth of the coach. And I understand you have, I don't know, but I understand that there are a lot of transitions you have done in your personal and professional life, and I'm sure it's all integrated at this moment or are getting integrated. In this conversation today, I would like to explore your story.
Okay.
And I think the first question really is, how do you talk about your change story? You are from England, you're living in Bali for the last 25 years, you run a retreat here, so I can also understand that your work has evolved over time. So I would love to know about your change story. How did it start and where is it going from?
Well, if you're talking about where did it start, one might be going back quite a long way in time. But I can pinpoint one moment of change that was very crucial or critical, and it goes back to 1970 when I was an undergraduate at the University of Liverpool in England, and I found myself as a kind of seeker.
Seeker?
Yeah.
Okay.
In that I felt dissatisfied with my life, with myself, with my studies. Studies weren't as scintillating, as exciting as I imagined university would be. So I was perhaps at that time a little bit of a lost soul. I was writing sort of melancholic poetry because I was studying in the northwest of England, which is these long, dark, rainy winters, and I would write about this greyness and how I felt grey inside. I shudder when I see a twig poking the sky, etc., etc.
How does it feel to think and talk about it now?
It feels kind of interesting, you know. It's like I hadn't thought of it or talked about it for quite a long time. And there's something very, very interesting about moments of your life that are quite important, and then you move on, and then maybe you come back and look at them again from a more mature or a different perspective, and then you think, well, now I've digested it, but then life moves on again, and you look back again, and the kaleidoscope has shifted again. So it's very, very interesting like that. I don't know if you've noticed that in reflecting on your life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Several moments when you reflect back and hindsight have a different meaning and perspective to it.
But then you reflect back years later on the reflection, and it's different again.
It is. Like a book, right? We buy a book and we read it once, and then we read it after 10 years, and after we read it after 15 years. Every time there's a different.
Exactly.
It's like that. I think we are all books anyway.
Yeah.
Great. So what happened then after that?
Well, I think it was April 1970. I'd taken LSD.
Okay.
And I'd sort of, it blown the top off my head.
Okay.
And what I'd understood from it is that reality is very subjective.
Interesting.
That everything that we're experiencing is somehow a reflection of this nervous system, these sensors, which are just tuning into some small part of the total frequency. But I also felt like it was like hitting my head with a sledgehammer. And I thought there must be a more natural way
To reach
of
that
doing this. Yeah. And then I had a school friend, we were at home, and he said that there was a teacher of transcendental meditation in a village a few miles from the city or town where we went to secondary school, and would I like to come with him? So we got on the bus and went to this little village or town called Woodbridge, and there was this marvellous English painter, very enthusiastic, and she told us all these wonderful things about meditation, what it could do for us, and we looked at each other and thought, well, if it even does a little bit of all that, it's worth trying.
Yeah.
So we both went and had initiation into transcendental meditation in April 1970, and I think for both of us it was life-changing. For me, there was the experience that I slipped beneath like the hard, like grey roads of Liverpool into something that was still pure and fresh and beautiful, and that was a very powerful moment. You know, those lines of Wordsworth: "The world is late, eating and spending, we lay waste our powers." You know, that's how I felt around 2021.
Okay.
And then there's another poet, Jared Hopkins, who said that the deepest freshness lives deep down things, something like that. And I felt that I reconnected with this deep freshness within me.
The deepest freshness lies deep down.
Something like that. I misquote, but you get the spirit of it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't all. That was in the moment. The next week I was back at university and I was reading Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and he was describing lying in a boat on Lake Lucerne, and he was describing how when he lay on the boat there was just enough lapping of the water to keep him awake, and at the same time it was so calm he was settling down. So he experienced that between this waking up and settling down, he slipped into another state of consciousness. He said, where we are sufficient, self-sufficient as God is, and how this was a really intense, real experience. I thought that's very similar to what I experienced in meditation. So I got a renewal also in my studies, because I saw that some writers were writing about these shifts in consciousness, and that led me to meditation, which helped me learn much more quickly. So I got a better degree than was anticipated, and I went on to study an MA and a PhD in higher states of consciousness and literary creativity. So all that came out of April 1971.
Wow.
So 1977.
1970.
1970, this happened. So what I'm understanding is this experience of LSD and then, leading to meditation and then that leading to your studies, connected studies. It's like a path or journey which kind of set you on a different journey.
Yes.
So what happened after?
Well, a lot happened. But if you'd like to fast forward to the end of the 1980s,
Okay.
I'd begun to develop my own form of one-to-one work during the 1980s, which was inspired by my experience in meditation, meeting NLP. And I was attracted or curious about a term that the Maharishi had used from Sanskrit, pragyaparad.
Pragyaparad.
Yeah. Which he translated as the mistake of the intellect.
Okay.
And he said all problems come from the mistake of the intellect.
We call it intellectual arrogance these days.
Well, he was using it in a more specific way than arrogance, but
The mistakes.
arrogance is coming from pragyaparad. So pragyaparad is really the confusion between the one and the many. So anytime we find ourselves in difficulties and challenges, it's as if we've lost our connection with our unbounded source and become immersed in our finite, restricted mind and world. So you could say that from one perspective, everything that we're doing in coaching, in a way, is reminding people of the way in which all problems are expressions of some limitations in their thinking. And we're helping them to work through that and go beyond where the thinking was stuck.
Right.
If there wasn't some stuckness, they wouldn't
come.
They wouldn't come.
And most of the stuckness is because of intellect.
Yeah, the way in which we're thinking.
Yeah. I mean, because we are thinking, but the way in which we are thinking creates the stuckness, and hence the coach helps them to look at the other way.
Yeah, like Sanskrit makes a distinction between manas and buddhi.
Manas and buddhi, yeah. Man and buddhi.
So manas is more like the capacity of the mind to have thoughts.
Capacity of mind to have thought.
And buddhi has to do with like how you're discerning and discriminating amongst the thoughts.
So basically the interpretation of a choice.
Yeah, the meaning that we're giving. Yeah. What is it an example of? So from my perspective, when I'm working with people, I'm listening to what is the structure of what they're saying in terms of if I was thinking like that, what would be happening with me? In order to discern where is the understanding maybe a little bit, shall we say, missing something important. So it was exploring that in the 1980s, which was kind of pre-coaching.
Yeah. What was the state of coaching that time in your country?
Well, it hadn't really been developed.
Oh, interesting. So this is pre-coaching.
Yeah, I mean, coaching emerged probably, I think, towards the end of the 90s. And it came out of the work of people like Sir John Whitmore, who were doing Timothy Galway's Inner Game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Grow model.
Now, you could say that NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, was a form of coaching before we were talking about coaching. Because it wasn't really, I mean, it had emerged from the study of therapists.
Yes.
But it wasn't so much focused on therapeutic interventions as such, as helping ordinary people identify and transcend or achieve outcomes.
Absolutely.
When I came across NLP, beginning in the 1980s, I found it a bit superficial. And I tried to connect it with my experience of consciousness. That led me to write a book called Living Awareness. Awakening to the roots of learning and perception.
And that's through meditation. That's the...
shall we say that the understanding of consciousness is very, very interesting because as a psychological model, early NLP was quite non-dual. It didn't have a notion of an ego or a self. It was more like we are beings that emerge from an interplay of physiology or neurology, sensory systems, and language.
Right.
So the intersection of what was happening through the five senses, the body, and language was giving rise to experience. It was only a little bit later that Robert Dilts introduced the notion of identity.
Right.
Early NLP was a bit like Buddhism,
Interesting.
in that respect, in that there was no self.
So Robert Dilt basically structurized it, is how they can say.
Well, he was a very great synthesizer, and because early NLP was very eclectic, borrowing from here and there, and using whatever it could in order to study the structure of subjective experience. So he brought some order and simplicity to that. And one of the concepts that we introduced was identity.
Right.
Whereas people like Bandler and Grinder, particularly Grinder, they talked about a referential index, which is the I. And so if I'm empathic, I'm switching referential index from my I to your I. Robert Dilts was influenced by the way in which he saw his own newborn child. And he said, when I looked at him, it was like, there's a person there, there's someone there. It's not just a blank slate. So, I evolved this way of working to try and look for the state of the intellect in the person's experience that they were sharing.
Interesting.
And then I found myself in a new crisis towards the end of that decade, where I had some
difficulties in my marriage. I was sort of a bit frustrated with my work. I was doing like management training programs. I found a bit mechanical. And I came to a point where I had the feeling like, and this was in California, experiencing a connection with nature for the first time. And I thought, I didn't know anything about nature, but I suddenly experienced that nature was alive and was giving me messages, like, and they're just simple things, but very wholesome. And when I went back to England, two friends of mine had started channeling. And, I was a bit skeptical and sitting in their living room, and he said, looked at me and he said, we need to be doing something different.
Okay.
He said, you should be doing something more spiritual, but you're afraid to. And you need to take a retreat alone in nature. So...
Wow. So that channeling was your choice to be in that session, or they...
It wasn't even a session, I was just there for a cup of tea,
So he caught it, like, he could see that in you.
Yeah, he reflected something that matched my inner truth.
Right.
Just spontaneously and naturally. So I thought, well, I'll do it. And I went to America, to Arizona for 3 weeks, and I lived alone in the wilderness.
And how was that experience?
Yeah.
About that?
Yeah. Well, the first week I camped in the San Francisco Peaks near Flagstaff. And, I was a bit afraid because of, there'd be strange noises at night. And then I discovered later it was elk, boogling. I thought you say boogling. And, I'd walk at night beneath skunks and strange creatures. But I had the feeling of connecting with nature, going into a deep space. And after 1 week, I went into Flagstaff to get some groceries. And a woman accosted me. She said, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" And we went for a cup of tea. And then she said, "You should go and meet this person." And she gave me the name of the person, Betty Rose, because angels speak to her. And I thought, well, I haven't come looking for this, but it's come looking for me.
It's come looking for you. It found you.
Yeah. So after my second week, I went to visit her. And she gave me a kind of reading.
Okay.
Yeah. Which was, like I should leave everything and go and live in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Okay. Wow. It seems that you were constantly guided quite clearly.
Yeah. Certainly it felt like that.
Like that.
Yeah. And it's like one thing led to another. Now, the interesting thing is that I developed this process which I called open heart learning and later repatterning, which I used in one-to-one work with people to try and connect with the mistake of the intellect in their experience. And after about 2 weeks, I each day I would sort of maybe a base camp, I'd go for a walk or whatever. And every time I sat down, I got attacked by flies.
Okay.
And so I went higher and higher and higher.
Mm-hmm.
And that day also, there were these very strange pink lizards.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of them, you know. They're called horned lizards, you know, about so big.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's like, what's that about? And I went up and up and up and up, and I came to a kind of, I think the French is col, you know, where you're on the top and you can see everywhere on that direction, and you can see everywhere on the other side, and you're right on the top.
It was the top of a mountain?
Yeah,
Ah.
but almost like in between, you know, a neck
Okay.
between, like two sides of a watershed.
Interesting.
And I had a little stove, and I made some noodles, and then I lay down.
Yeah.
And after my energy was more subtle, my thinking was more subtle. I found that I could do this repetitioning, this open heart learning, with myself.
Mm.
So I could really go into my own experience. And I've came to a very deep belief that seemed to be like crucial and influence every part of my life. And clearly it was not really true, but was influencing me.
Interesting. Can you talk about that?
You know, what would you like to know?
Like what was not true but influencing? Just an example.
Yeah, in this particular instance, and it developed over the following weeks. It was like, I'm not lovable.
The beliefs you had about yourself.
Yeah, it's like I came to this thing of like, what's common to my private life and my professional life and my friends, and there's like kind of craving for love, for affection, and realizing that I couldn't expect that from outside. That somehow it was a neediness that was when Buddhists talk about hungry ghosts, you know, it's like feeding my hungry ghosts. And the flip side of it is like, okay, what has to be true for this to be true is like, I'm not lovable as a deep experience, and I saw that how that influenced every part of my life, like the way I related to people, the way I would draw people close and then push them away. You know about this stuff, you know. All those thousands of clients you had. So for me, that was a very, very big insight, and it was almost like getting to the core of what needed to be explored at that time in that crisis, in that change period. And a lot of things followed on from that over the following months. We went back to England. The woman who did the channeling in her room full of pictures of Jesus.
Betty
Rose, where you know, she'd kind of said, what about my marriage? And she said, well, your karma together is over, you know.
Okay.
And, you know, if you could go to Santa Fe by yourself. So I had a bit of a polarity reaction to that. We got on better for some months. And I felt, totally renewed by the retreat. Fresh, clear, and like I'd really turned a page. And that insight, it kept showing new facets. Like sometimes it would be like, I'm not acceptable. Which is, sounds similar, but it's a little bit different. It's some other, so the craving for acceptance and the things that one does to see, totally I'm not acceptable, to outlaw yourself or alienate yourself from others. So that was another big move.
And
then, well, you could fast forward again, maybe another 20 years.
so what happened to the marriage?
Well, I got invited to teach in Russia in May 1992, I think. The retreat was September, October 1991. And while I was in Russia, my wife said, "Don't go, it'll be the end of us." And I had this invitation. It was a very exciting time to go to Russia after it had been closed for so long. So I have to go. And when I came back, she was in a relationship with somebody else, and so the doors, kind of closed on that direction, opened up in another direction. Yeah. So I did go to live in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Okay.
And it was nice, but then I was offering this process, but everybody was offering something. Just like, I couldn't get any clients, or just one or two. And then I got invited to teach a course in Bali. And I started coming to Bali. The rest is history.
And then you stayed in Bali.
Well, I came and went for a long time.
Okay.
Probably the fruit of that particular turning point was, buying the land for this retreat center.
Yeah, and it's such a heavenly place, I must say, because I'm here, I can feel the energy. And how did your journey, and how did you got into the ICF route, and what's that connection?
Well, I wasn't that interested in that line of things. So then I started working an Indian lady who lives in Indonesia, and she was feeling it was quite important to get this alignment with ICF, because we were going to offer a coach training program that I developed in Russia.
Okay.
Deep transformation coaching. So we did get 2 ICF accredited programs, and I started on the ICF treadmill and ACC, PCC. And I think one of the turning points with that was meeting Jaya Bhateja at a conference in Singapore. And, really, I just happened to be sitting next to her at dinner by chance, at the conference dinner. And she was so interesting and engaging and open and alive. I thought, well, an organisation that has a leading like this in it.
Yeah.
Can't we all do it?
Yeah. She's definitely brilliant.
Yeah.
So then your path to ICF, and then your awareness journey, and then you start hosting these retreats. How did it not come together, and how did it come together? What is that story?
And what is it?
I mean to say, how did these modalities talk to each other, or not to talk to each other at some point in time?
I think, if I would describe my journey since the 2000s, when I was teaching deep transformational coaching, and then around the 2010, 2011, I was working with this lady called Sharon, and I also trained as a coach supervisor with the Coaching Supervision Academy, and I used to, for about 15 years, I offered a 2-week training here, almost till COVID, in the dynamics of transformation, and that was like the master level training for how to do the kind of repatterning work, which had developed from that time when I was describing in the mountaintop, to include a lot of interest in polarities, a lot of interest in beliefs was already there from the beginning, but I started to notice that there was a difference between a belief and the epistemology behind the belief.
Yeah.
So, if somebody says I'm not good enough, or I've never been good enough, the kind of things that people come out within coaching. There's something behind that where things like, am I separate or connected? Is there a me or not a me? These deeper level of assumptions that are within the beliefs. I started to see them as two elements that are slightly different in different levels. And then I became interested in the kind of metaphors that people had, particularly the metaphors for their life patterns. There was a guy in Russia I did a session and he said, I feel like I'm pushing the train uphill.
Yeah, says a lot about what's going on. Yeah.
So I became interested in these deep existential
conversation, metaphorical conversations.
So then there's 4 elements in the repatterning, not just the beliefs like it's sculpted in the 1980s. But then somehow it felt a bit like a shift started to happen where I made a distinction between deep repatterning, looking at the life, and conversational repatterning, where it was more fluid and more limited. And then this notion of conversations on the edge of silence came up, where I felt like I'd been connecting things and building things and developing a model, and then it was kind of like me letting go of the model and letting things be and flow in a natural and spontaneous way. And I call that conversations on the edge of silence. And then my work gradually evolved in that direction. It was a very slow process because people were still requesting the deep transformation coaching training, and I was still offering up until COVID, really. The last one I did was in Bulgaria around 2020 and so what stayed behind was conversations on the edge of silence.
Interesting. That seems like the integration, what you believe in or naturally integrate with, let's say.
Yes and no, strangely enough.
Okay. So there is more evolution.
Yeah. In fact, it's been happening this week or
okay, what a timing.
Last week, because it's like I'd spent, I don't know, 20, 30, however many years developing this one-to-one work. But when I started this retreat center in around late 1990s, I called it the Nirvana Center for Living Awareness. And there's a sense in which what is most important wasn't necessarily coaching one-to-one work, but the unfolding of consciousness and awakening to, shall we say, the full enjoyment of inner energy and inner awareness as two faces of the same thing. And from that respect, even conversations on the edge of silence is, shall we say, one of the petals of that rose, but it's not the rose itself.
Interesting. But it's a very thoughtful topic.
Yes.
Edge of the silence.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting. So where is the journey now, and what are you thinking for the next few years?
Well, it's a sense of coming back to operating from and in relation to the center of that lotus. So that lotus has a number of petals. One petal has to do with conversation and inquiry. So in terms of the kind of coaching modality, it's a bit like what you might have absorbed when you saw me working with someone. There's that interest in what is the client or the individual sharing with me, and how is that a reflection of where the, shall I say, the thinking, the being, the wholeness, the awareness of the person is a little bit restricted. So from that perspective, it covers a range from like helping relationship to inquiry into what is the nature of self, which is a little bit in tradition of Sankhya Yoga or Yama Yoga, and non-dual inquiry. Some traditions from India, for Buddhism. From the other side, in terms of my personal self-renewal, what's been crucial for the last more than 50 years is daily meditation. So I've always felt like meditation helped me recover from burnout, recover from emotional upsets, the things that happen in daily life. Again, to recover and come back. So meditation is another petal. Over the years, and it started quite early in my experience of meditation. So I found that when I got very, very deep, spontaneous movement started happening. Heat and energy started happening in my body. And it didn't happen in every meditation, but it's like, what's this? And here in Bali, there've been contexts where I felt that very strongly. In Southeast Asia and the Philippines, there's this a strong connection or a strong current of interest and openness to what you might call energy. Yeah. So another petal is work with inner energy, and some of that it's part of the living awareness meditation. You experienced some this morning, where we're working with that energy just for a few minutes, and some of it is like one of the petals that's in the conversational work. And I also draw on the connection and collaboration I've had with a Filipino teacher called Jaya Bhateja, and the modality called inner dance.
Inner
dance.
Inner dance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it's a modality in itself. It's a modality in itself.
Yeah, it's a little bit ambiguous because inner dance is really the dance of your inner energy. See, right now your head is shaking a little bit, and you're laughing. So that there is a constant ripple of energy through the body mind.
Right.
And you could say all that is an expression of the inner dance. Now, inner dance is practice. The way peterwrycza8095 described it is like when you practice yoga, usually you finish in shavasana. So,
Shavasana.
Yeah. With inner dance, you start in shavasana. And there's a context in which the inner energy begins to move, and stress and tension gets released. So there's a side of energetic work which I'm a great believer in. And then the fourth element around the living awareness is to do with relationship. And I was running a workshop on radical intimacy. So it's like, how can we understand what is essential for a satisfying relationship before we get into it. I know in your country there's a whole tradition of arranged marriages and all that. But there's still a question of how is my relationship something that really nourishes both of us, and how much of it is, well, it's like we have our life to live, so we'll get through it transactionally.
Yeah.
You do the shopping and I'll do the cooking, whatever.
Okay.
But so I'm interested in the path of the past, the way in which we can tune into each other through these same 4 petals. So there's the petal of how do we get along cognitively?
So cognitively.
How do we get along as a caring partnership? How do we manage on the level of chemistry? And are we able to open and share subtle connection, which is somehow to do with where souls meet, to really tune into the fine being of each other.
So it's a very deep work we're doing. So jumping back,
That's been my problem, those sort of like love of death.
yeah, and the butterfly, and the love of death, likeness. And what I'm thinking is, how does this translate into this practical world, which is just rushing and maybe not interested in deep conversations, or maybe looking for fast solutions? How do you encounter those clients?
Well, I think you have to take people where they are.
Yeah, meet them where they are.
Yeah. But the same elements are present, but it may be on a different level. Because they're struggling to, shall we say, deal with the practicalities of life. But at the same time, we're not machines. We have bodies, we have minds, we have emotions. We look for different kinds of satisfaction, from eating and from sport. We have economic requirements. What one Indian Vaidya called vitamin M. Money. And but ultimately, we're also longing for quality of life.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And so the question is how to support people in reconnecting with their wholeness and their quality, which is spiritual in a sense. And I'm using that word very loosely as that's touching with how do we find meaning. Sometimes in our life, maybe we find meaning in having a better car. But I mean, that lasts until the first scratch. If you know what I mean. So from that side, meeting people where they are, but from the other side, people find you as well.
Yeah, that I think.
You now bow down, you are an MCC coach, the top tier. You don't have the same clients coming to you as when we started coaching.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Changes.
Yeah, and it's weird how it happens. You tend to get the right folks for you.
Yeah. People find you.
Yes.
Find you. Interesting. I think I have an answer to that. Interesting. So very interesting journey, Dr. Peter. What is, where are you sitting in this journey? Like, what do you feel about everything? About your journey of change?
It was very funny. We had the chat with that gentleman just after lunch.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, well, I picked up a few things, but ultimately it comes to this.
Yes.
It feels like when I trained as a trainer of NLP, we worked on our identity, our mission.
Right.
And in looking into my core values at that time, what emerged was what was my deep motivation is this, shall we say, appreciation and quest for living awareness. And it's like there was a long development from that point where I explored this and I explored that, and I started a retreat center and we called it Center for Living Awareness. And maybe I'm finally ready to return to that as a central focus, as opposed to like it's been for the last 25 years, probably more oriented towards talking about myself as a coach, or coach supervisor, or coach developer, and seeing it as one modality for unfolding our true nature, which is ultimately living awareness.
Living awareness. That seems like the summary of your journey, living awareness.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So Peter, we are towards the end of this conversation. What do you see in the world of coaching? What's happening? How are people conceiving, consuming coaching, especially the coaches? And what advice would you like to give them? First of all, what you're seeing, and then which advice would you like to give?
Well, it's an interesting question because I haven't been to an international conference for a while, so I don't necessarily feel that I have my finger on the pulse, or which way is the wind blowing.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, from a personal perspective, I began to find the coaching output a little bit. I'm not sure what the right word is. Something like shallow. It's like very, very valuable if the people that are focused on how can I do better at what I'm doing? How can I resolve some of my inner challenges and perform better? And I feel like I reached a period in my life where it's important, but it's ultimately not what it's about. It's not about, shall we say, heightening achievement. And because there's a pernicious cruelty in the striving for achievement. And there's a Korean German philosopher called Byung-Chul Han, who written about this very beautifully in a book called The Burnout Society.
And how long back was this book written?
10 years or
10 years.
10, 12 years ago. And what he was seeing was that in 19th century, in a traditional organization, management managed and the workers worked. And you did your job in a hierarchical way. But there was a development towards, coming from company policy and human resource development. And already, when I began to work in the coaching modality, people were talking about it's not human resource, which explains treats it as people as something to exploit, like resources of nature. But there was this thing of like 365 degrees appraisals, and it was like, you've got to tell me how you're going to improve yourself. And there's a kind of introjection, there's a kind of guilt that I should be doing better. And it's no longer the company paying me for my labor and what I can offer, but it's saying, in order to be valuable to the company, you have to exploit yourself better. And the result of this is a tendency for people to overexert themselves and suffer from autoimmune diseases through burning themselves out.
Which is happening very much. It's heightened.
Yeah. And I don't think coaching is really fully come to terms with this contradiction in its fundamental presupposition. But it's not only about helping yourself perform better, and that goes to coaches as well who suffer from burnout. But how can you live more wisely, more beautifully?
More
holistically? Because fundamentally, when we are really at home and happy, we are more creative and productive as well. So my meditation teacher that I came across by chance in 1970, he used to say, do less and accomplish more. Do nothing and accomplish everything. Because ultimately, we are not the doers. Nature is acting through us.
We are human beings.
We are human doings, not human beings. And we are nature exploring its own beauty. And while I totally understand that and live that, and I've experienced that, to really take that to purpose becomes very tough. Yes.
Right? And that contradiction right there, are you saying we should not do anything? Is taken in a very transactional manner and not in a conscious manner, right? Not in understanding the dynamics of burnout, rather it is taken in the manner of effort and action.
Yes.
And that's where the confusion starts. Interesting. So are we also saying that
Well, I have a question for you, actually.
Sure.
Because, we met, was it 9 years ago?
Around 9 years.
And I looked at a note that I had in my contacts about you, and the impression I got was that you were shifting towards life coaching at that time. And, I'm curious. Yeah, you're laughing.
Okay.
You get the question.
You can complete the question.
Well, it's a little bit like, to what extent are you a corporate coach, and to what extent are you a life coach?
Yeah.
Jaya Bhateja, FCC.
It's an interesting question, and I have time and again found myself to be the life coach that I am. However, I have created a space for and understood the boundaries of what you can take to corporate and what you can't, and created offerings for that too, so that there is a little bit of everything. Maybe because when I started, and I met you when I started, there was a need for survival in this industry. And I think I'm roundabout come to that place where I'm saying, hey, let's just get back to the holistic life coaching piece. So that's been my journey, Peter, because survival also defines your birth. And that's what happened. And in that journey, I learned a lot. I learned huge amount of perspective around what's happening really. How is work and life not talking to each other? How they are looking at different directions. How we are not able to connect our pieces together. So sitting with those corporate clients gave me a lot of perspective about, hey, nobody's talking about performance to me. Everybody's talking life.
Yes.
But still we do not have acceptance of life coaching.
Yeah.
And that is a very systemic issue. That's a very country-led issue. It's also a society issue. Because our families' systems are such that it's a taboo to even get into something else. So that's how I designed it in a way that I learned, and it did provide me a lot of perspective to come here, and I think it's time to be that foundation.
Yeah, and it might not be towards calling yourself a life coach.
Whatever, exactly. It doesn't have to be. Yeah.
But it might be just realigning a little bit towards.
Absolutely.
I'm really working with the whole person, which is what we're doing anyway.
That's we are doing anyway. That's how I do anyway. And really, I know that the kind of reaction to life coaching as a title we receive, and it's okay to not use that. You just work with the whole person.
Yes.
So that's what I do.
Yeah.
And that's why the experiences are very different.
Yes.
Because I'm working as a whole.
You're a holistic coach.
Holistic coach. Whatever it means for others. Well, so just the final wrap up. What are some of the resources you would like to suggest to the listeners who would like to enhance their understanding on living in awareness? What are some of your books or any other resource that you found useful in your journey?
I think meditation is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Taking care of the body, particularly through activities like I like inner dance, but I also like self-unfolding movement that's like opening the body, not just using it for walking and sitting. And time for reflection, and then recognizing that coaching supervision is not a luxury, but it's an essential part of fulfilling one's responsibility to others and oneself by allowing time to reflect in these process and practice. So I think those are
So reflection, meditation, body movements, and supervision.
yeah. And maybe exploring radical intimacy.
Radical intimacy, which is
For me, it's like I think it's important for men and women. I've been interested in it particularly from the point of view of observing women in professional life and the grace and challenge of being strong and vulnerable.
the masculine.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And I haven't gone the extra step yet to look at the male part of it as much. But it's probably even more important.
Sure. Yeah, it does have an impact. And while I was on the other retreat, the common thing that was emerging was the father issues, the daddy issues.
Yeah.
And that's...
Were you mainly women on the retreat?
No, it was
Yeah,
a mixed
too.
group. Yeah, it was a mixed group. And a key realization towards the end reflection was that most of the issues are stemming from the relationship with father or mostly father.
It's interesting you should say that because many years ago I did some workshops with a woman who's since passed away called Gabrielle Roth, who developed a movement process called 5 Rhythms.
Mm-hmm.
And then on one workshop she was working with archetypes through movement.
Mm-hmm.
And the most, shall we say, problematic archetype was one of the father. Because this was mainly Westerners in England at that time. The father was an absent figure.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that is in your society and culture, but there's a tendency that with the career focus, men going out, the father might be something also of a sometimes
Fair enough.
absent.
Yeah, maybe physically present, but emotionally.
Yeah.
That's what's... Well, I think we can go on, and I can have more conversations with you. But for this episode, thank you very much for this opportunity, Peter. I think I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you very much. And I will look forward for more opportunities in future to interact.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it was lovely to have you with it and to have this conversation with you.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.